Hello, my wonderful knitty friends. Welcome to Hobbies. If you are new, welcome. If you've watched my videos before, welcome back. It's really exciting to be able to share my passions and my hobbies with the online community. So love that you're here. Today in this video, I am going to share strictly my knitting plans for 2024. I am not going to do a full whip parade. I have one of those that I did a few months back that is pretty much up to date. I have not had a lot of time to knit / have not knit at all. I got slightly obsessed with some cross stitch projects, so my plans got a little wonky like they do, but I'm going to let you know my plans for 2024. In general, I only plan in detail for 3 months at a time, so each quarter, excuse me. But for knitting, it's a little bit different, and I have most of my plan for the year. Also, I'm gonna apologize in advance. My kids have both been really sick. They are better now, but now it's my turn apparently. I have a sore throat, I have a little bit of a fever, I have some congestion. I've got coffee, I've got water, I've got cough drops, although I'm trying to avoid having them in my mouth while I'm speaking to you. So if I have to pause the video and get a tissue, or if I sound a little hoarse, I sincerely apologize because we've got the crud and it's mommy's turn apparently. So what I will start with is just sort of laying out how I'm going to do this. I have, as I mentioned, a knitting whip parade. So I will tell you the current whips in my plans. And what I will do for those is I will insert a picture from the whip parade of where I'm at with it, as well as I'll call it a cover picture of what the finished project would look like. I'm also going to try to link all of these, as long as I can still find them, in the description box below, so that if you are interested, you can go ahead and you can look that project up and maybe do it yourself. So the way I'm working my 2024 knitting plans, excuse me, see, I already need a sip of coffee just so I can keep talking. You like my little Valentine gnome mug? He was too cute. I try really hard not to buy all the kitschy things for the holidays, but he was adorable. And I think I got him at the Dollar Tree, and I'm pretty sure he was $3, so I couldn't pass it up. Pretty much anything that holds coffee, I love. So, especially when there's coffee in it. Anyway, I digress. So what I am doing for 2024 is I am using a WhipGo board for my knitting. If you are a cross stitcher as well, you know what I'm talking about. If you are not, there is a wonderful floss tuber who also knits, and her name is Jessie Marie. She's got a channel called Jessie Marie Does Stuff. She came up with a WhipGo board a few years back and does WhipGo every year through a Facebook page, where essentially you create a bingo board of your projects with a goal associated, and every month she will pick 2 numbers. There are 25 boxes on your bingo or WhipGo board. So one month she'll pick 3 spaces, and one of them will be your free space in the center. So let me show you what my WhipGo board looks like. So here's mine. This is my knitting WhipGo board. I'm doing one for cross stitch as well. For every single box, my goal is 2 days. I needed to simplify this year because I'm trying to do more hobbies, but I don't want them to be stressful. So every project that's called, my goal is to knit on it for 2 days. Is that 5 minutes? Maybe. Is it an hour? Maybe. But it's going to be 2 days. So what will happen is every month, Jessie Marie will call 2 numbers, or 3 if this free space in the center gets called, and I will select the project that corresponds with those numbers. So for January, I'm trying to read this backwards, she called number 9 and number 22. That is my Stephen West Shawlography shawl and my Sharon Air by Casa Pinka shawl. So those are the 2 I'm working on this month. And so what I'm going to say is about roughly half my board is current whips. The other half is new starts. planned new starts, because in 2023, I started with 14 projects. I finished one. I had 0 new starts, and so I now have 13 projects. First of all, I'm not super duper superstitious, but I'm like a little stitious. So having 13 whips is really stressing me out. So I will probably start something possibly even today, because I just don't like that. Seems like bad luck. But I have a lot of projects that I kidded. I went on this kind of kidding rampage where I said I have all these beautiful yarns and all these patterns in my queue in Ravelry. I'm gonna just kit them all up. So now I have too many kitted. So I want to make sure they actually get started, but I want to do it with intention. So this is fun because I don't really know what's going to get, well, I don't know what's going to get called every month until that month happens. So I could have 2 new starts. I could have 2 older whips, or 2 active whips, I should say, that I'm working on. Could be one of each. I don't know. So let me take you first through the list of current whips that I have on my whip go board. Each of these, I will put the cover picture of what the finished project looks like, as well as my current state for this project. So what my whip looks like. I'm not going to take them all out of the bag. I'm sorry, I don't have the energy today, and it'll be like a 3-hour video if I do a full another whip parade. But the first one on my whip go board in slot 1 is Slip Dream. This is by Emma Lynn Knits, and so I'll get 2 days on that. The next one, and you'll actually notice that I have this on here twice. There's a couple that need extra love, and they're on here twice. The next current whip on my whip go board is Sharon Air by Casapinka. I don't know what I did or how I did it, and I've even messaged Casapinka, who I think probably got my message and we're like, I don't know how to help you. I've asked experienced knitters. I was going along great, and then all of a sudden in one of the sections, literally like 4 rows in on one of the sections, I was over either 21 or 23 stitches. Not 1 or 2, 20 plus stitches. And my stitch counts had all been right in the previous section. So I ripped that section out, but now something is still not right. I don't know if I misread somewhere in the instructions or miscounted or both, but something is way wrong. So I've given Sharon Air 2 2-day segments on the whip go board. That said, it could get more. So during the week, I am generally trying to dedicate every Tuesday and every Thursday to knitting. I'm also doing Wild Wednesdays, where if I have something that's calling to me, no matter what project it is, that's sort of my free day to do whatever hobby I want. I am trying to be more intentional with my time. Sometimes it works, sometimes I get distracted and I do something totally irrelevant. Excuse me. So Sharon Air is on there twice. Sharon Air by Casapinka. That is on there for, let me just make sure it is only 2 blocks. Yes. And one of those blocks, which was block 22, got called this month. I have not worked on her yet. I'll be honest, I'm kind of avoiding her. I love her, but I also just can't handle her right now. You ever have projects like that where you're like, I love you, but you take too much brain capacity right now, and I have to be in the right state of mind for this. That's my Sharon Air. Okay, my next whip on my whip go board, forgive me for looking down, I've got the board here so I don't forget anything, is the Framed Stripes Baby Blanket. This is by Cheryl Murray, M-U-R-R-A-Y. Mine, the pattern is in a book, but it is on Ravelry. I found it on Ravelry, so I will link that below. Next is my Instant Gratification Scarf. This is by Cyn, C-Y-N. I am going to give this a chance in my whip go board, and I'm either going to knock it out and finish it, or I'm going to decide I just don't enjoy it and it's going to get ripped out. The yarn is neat, the pattern is neat. The yarn is this novelty acrylic yarn that has all kinds of different textures, and really it's multiple sizes of yarn kind of all kerfuffled together. So it just kind of looks like a hot mess. And part of me is trying to decide if it looks, because it's an intentional hot mess, because that's how the yarn knits up, but I'm trying to decide if it's what I want, if it's the look I'm going for, or if it's just not for me. If it's not for me, I will probably pass that yarn along to someone who can use it for something they love, or try to find a different pattern, but we're gonna give it a go. Next is my powder wrap by Casapinka. I just love this. It's a nice calming knit for me. There's a little bit of counting. You have to pay attention to your knits and purls, but it's really just knits and purls and simple repetitive patterns. And the yarn, it has a nice heft to it. It's a nice, it's not a chunky weight, but it's completely blanking on my weight. But it's just a beautiful, comfortable yarn to knit with for a long period of time. There's no color changing. It's just a nice calming knit, but somehow I just forget about it. I don't know if that makes sense. Next comes Shawlography by Stephen West. I love the colors I chose for this. I love the pattern. Stephen West, I have to focus really hard. I can do his patterns. I love his patterns, but I have to focus, because I get, especially with all the slipping colors and the multiple colors and everything, it always looks stunning at the end, but I really have to have my brain on. It's not hard, but I do have to pay attention so I don't make a mistake, which I feel like is easy to do. But that one will get 2 days this month. And yes, this month is almost over. It's the 24th, so I need to get cracking. Next is my Cabin Path shawl by Helen Stewart. I love this piece. This is another one that's just simple. And there are 2 colorways used. And I love the colors I used. I started it in the spring, and I just thought, I need something springy and happy, and love it. I love it. I love it. So I'm excited to get some more time in on that. Then is A Slight Breeze by Christy Becker. I like this one. The yarn is beautiful. It is a silk yarn, which I got many moons ago on clearance somewhere. It is a hand-dyed silk. It's very beautiful. What I'm realizing is knitting with silk is a pickle. It slips and slides everywhere. I have to be really careful and pay close attention, because I have to have a tighter tension to keep everything from just literally sliding out and sliding off and sliding everywhere and being way too loose. But then I have to be cautious not to over tension the yarn and have it all really tight. So it's an easy knit, and I think it would be done if I wasn't concentrating so hard on making sure my gauge didn't go all over the place and the yarn isn't slipping all over the place. And I do think in some ways the gauge will not be consistent, because I just don't know that I can keep it consistent with such a silky yarn. So I'm enjoying it, but it's more of a struggle to maintain the gauge than I ever expected. Next is my beach bag. So this is a pattern I got many, many years ago. Excuse me, I got itchy nose. Off a YouTube channel that is no longer up. It's a very simple pattern. Fortunately, I wrote it on an index card. The YouTube video is gone. There's nothing on Ravelry, so I can't share it with you because I just have some like scribbled chicken scratch notes that tell me what I need to do. And I'm close to being done with it, but it's just kind of like a beach bag market tote. I had this huge cone of, what's it called? Cream and colors. You know, the cotton cream and colors? Why do I feel like cream's involved? Sugar and cream? Cream and sugar. I think it's cream and sugar. Anyway, I had this big cone of cotton, and I thought, well, I need to do something with it. So I was making this beach bag. So I'll insert a picture of what that looks like so far here, and you can get a pretty good idea, but I don't have a cover picture to share. My next is the Glamping Blanket by Casapinka. really enjoying this. I do have to take my time and do small increments of knitting when I'm using a really heavy weight yarn because I have some challenges with my hands. I have Raynaud's, I have carpal tunnel, I'm a hot mess over here, thus the channel name. So it's really big needles and big yarn tend to get my hands really achy if I use it for too long, but I really enjoy that, and it'll be beautiful once it's done someday. Next is my Expression Fiber Arts Etude number 2 shawl. When this is done, it's going to be stunning. That said, this is my first all lace weight project, and I might be 85 by the time I finish this thing. I feel like all I do is knit on this. And the first section, I just need to get, like, there's some border stitches, but I really just need to get to 12 inches of this pattern repeat. And it's not hard, but it's like I never get there. I just am still not there because the stitches are so tiny. But the yarn I'm using is scrumptious and I love it. The colors are going to be stunning. The shawl is going to be stunning. I think it's going to block really beautifully too and just have a lot of flow to it and movement. But it is going to take a long time. So this might actually be the project that I think about throwing in my purse as well if I need to knit somewhere, because again, the pattern isn't very hard. As long as I'm knitting somewhere with lighting, I can throw this in my purse and take it with me and just keep plugging away. Okay, next on the opposite end of the spectrum is Giant Elves by Barbara Benson. Again, I got it from a book I have that Barbara Benson published. It's called something like Big Knits, Quick Big Knits, something like that. But she does have the pattern on Ravelry. So this is sort of like a caplet poncho type deal. And I have a good bit done. I just need to pick that back up. And then what's my next one? My next one is Sharon Air again. That's repeated. I think that's actually the only one I've repeated twice. And then my last current whip on here is Woven Chevrons, which is by Stephen West. This one I parked this one because first I wasn't sure I liked the yarn combo. Then I decided I really do like it. It's different, but I like it. It's different from what I would normally pick, but I like it. But the thing I struggle with, because I've been knitting for a while, but I knit a little bit here and a little bit there, and I'm not super experienced with my knitting. So Stephen West patterns get a little challenging for me because he'll have written instructions, but then it's like, we'll add this and repeat it 28 more times, steps 1 through 45. And I am someone who really appreciates written instructions. And so I like to cross it off every time I do something. My brain just works better that way. And I think because I'm a cross stitcher, I really struggle with the charted knitting patterns because they look so similar to cross stitch, but they work completely different. And different directions indicate different types of stitches, and my brain wants to read it like a cross stitch because it's trained that way. So it's very hard for me to read a pattern. I love to have a written pattern versus a chart. So I need to just go through and go into Word and just like reprint however many dozens of times all those steps so I can just cross off, because I am more successful that way. And I know I'll just keep plugging away because I love the way it looks. So that's in there. Now, let me go through my planned new starts that are on here. These are in no particular order because, and I'm going to move this pile of notes because I don't know what order they'll be called in. However, I have one project that's not on WhipGo that I will show you at the end that is planned. So my first new start that I'm planning for WhipGo is the pumpkin pie hat. This is by Patternery. That one. And it's super cute. I will insert a picture of the cover so you know what it'll look like when it's done. And I am using 3 Olive Park yarns. I haven't used their yarns before, but I've ordered some, obviously, and they're gorgeous. So the first one I'm going to use is Silver. This is their Super Merino 80/20 Chunky Plus. and they're all the same base. So that's silver. Hopefully these are showing up okay. This is spicy hot chocolate. It's got a little bit of purple in it. It's like a brownish purple. And then we have Grouchy Espresso. I think their names are so funny. Grouchy Espresso. So these will be my 3 colors for the pumpkin pie hat, which I think will be really pretty. And it'll be a nice, quick, cozy knit. Hopefully it doesn't get called in like the middle of summer, because I'll just be hot knitting it. I feel like that's how it always happens. Okay. That one over there. Okay. The next one I am going to start sometime this year, when it is called, is the Breakwater Socks pattern by Carly Perrins. I am using a Breakwater mini set by Brine Dye Works, and this is a 75-25 merino sock and superwash merino. I'm sorry, no, I said that wrong. 75-25, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. And this is the colorways. That purple's kind of hidden there. But I've got a nice rich blue, this aqua, this sort of speckled bluish gray, this plum color, and then this fun pop of green. I have not done color work before. I have done a singular sock that I did in a class, and I was so stressed I was going to make it too small. I made it way too big and my gauge was too loose. But I'm just going to go for it. We're just going to go for it. And it works or it doesn't work, but either way I'll learn something. Okay. Where did my tag go for this one? I know you're in here. There you are. Okay. This is All Points South. This is a shawl by Casa Pinka. It is beautiful. I love the colors I've chosen, but I'm reserve the right to potentially change them. So here are the 3 colors I have right now, doing a more earthy palette. The darkest is Catnip Indie Yarns Superwash DK Merino in Sequoia. So pretty. My medium color is Ancient Art Yarns in, let's see, this is their Wool Nettle Atlas, I believe is the color. I also have DK. Yeah, Atlas. Really pretty. And then the last one is another Catnip Indie Yarn in their Super Wash DK Merino, and this is Winter Wheat, which I thought was pretty. It's a little bit hard to see the way it's wound, but there is actually some of that winter wheat color in throughout this skein. So I thought it would be good to have this as one of my colors, because I have the dark. These 2 will contrast well, but then I think there's enough contrast. When I say I reserve the right, the only thing I'm a little worried about is if these will not contrast well. But I think the majority of the pattern, the colors are used individually in their own sections. Versus it's not like color work where they're touching constantly or mixed together. Oh, coffee sip. Hold on. Okay. Oh, this one. So stoked for this. This is the Knothole Cowl by Stephen West. I am doing this one a little extra sassy. So I am using Lay Family Yarns. This is a UK yarn company. And the colorway is 1969. And this is their fingering. But, so you should have seen the pattern if I remembered to put it up there. But if I did, you'll have noticed. So the cowl has a good bit of garter stitch with these big holes, divots, pockets, knot holes. So I think a fluffified yarn would work really well for this, because it'll give it a little extra pizzazz. And I mean, if you're gonna pizzazz something up, it's gotta be a Stephen West, right? So I also bought the Lay Family Yarn Kid. This is 75% kid mohair, 25% silk. and it is in the same colorway, that 1969. So my plan is to hold these double and knit that cowl. And then it will have the structure and the softness. And I think, you know, having such a kind of a garter stitch background with such a large detail, I'm going to say, I don't know how else to explain that knot hole, but I think it will show up well. All right, moving right along. Sorry for the noise. So this is the Hopeful Cowl by Heather Anderson. This was a mystery knit along that I joined. I had everything picked out, but then I realized I had the wrong size beads. So I ordered beads. But when I was ordering beads, I found really pretty beads in a colorway that was not going to work with my original yarn. So I ordered those beads, but then I decided I was going to change the colorway. So I was all excited, and the beads got here, and I had them with the new colorway of yarn, and I went, I didn't like it nearly as much. So then I dug in my stash, found a third colorway of yarn, but by the time all this happened, they were kind of well into the knit along, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to wait. I have too much on my needles. But I'm starting it this year. I am using, this one's already wound, so I'm going to look over here at my notes. I can never pronounce this, but the Huasco sock in color 1007 Pavo Real. This is 75% superwash, 25% polyamide light fingering. It's this one. Sorry about that. The dog decided to have a conniption. As I was saying, this is for the Hopeful Cowl, and I am using the Huasco sock in Pavo Real, 75% superwash, 25% polyamide light fingering. This is the yarn I'm using. I have a really hard time not butchering how you pronounce that. So I'm sorry, because I'm sure I said it incorrectly, but I tried. I'm not showing you the beads for that because it's going to be a little surprisey surprise when I actually get to it. Oh, the next one's so pretty. So this is the Courage shawl, which is a stunning, stunning shawl. And if I remember correctly, and I hope I do, there's no color work. It's all done with slip stitches, which I am all about slip stitches. So I am using Blush Fiber Co. Sustainable New Merino Sock in 3 different colorways. The first is Leaf Hopper, which almost matches my walls. I guess you could say I like that color. Katydid Pink, which is sort of this dark, dusty rose. Let me hold it against my black shirt. That shows up a little better. And the last one is Juniper Moth. Yeah. Which is like a very, very light pink. Almost a cream, but it's got just enough pink. So these are the 3 colors I am planning to use. I think that'll be really pretty. And they really just complement each other well. But there's enough contrast between all 3 of them that any pairing of those 3 should look really nice. Okay. So the next one I'm doing, this is the Messy Bun Hat by Isla Phelps, excuse me. I'm using Classic Elite Yarns in Chateau, color 1415. It's 70% baby alpaca and 30% bamboo viscose. And if it feels half as good on my head as it does in this little ball, then I'm gonna wear this hat all the time. So that's Chateau, this beautiful, rich green color. It does have kind of, it's coming through a little bit tealy. It's really a very true green, but if you look at it closely, there are some undercurrents of a more tealy green. So let's see. And I think today's the 24th. Either today or maybe tomorrow, Jessie Marie will pull the numbers for February. I gotta get cracking on January because it's not good to get behind on the very first month. Okay, this is the Bubbles Cowl. It's by Kaleidoscope Knits. And I am using Brine Dye Works Soot in their 100% superwash merino worsted 8-ply base. It's a nice lightly variegated black. And then for my contrast, I am using Hood Fibers Tropical Monster DK Weight 100% merino wool. I know one is worsted and one is DK, but when you hold them next to each other and you actually look at the yardage and the weight, they're almost identical. So I think we'll be just fine. But how fun will that be? Kind of similar to what they used in the model. I thought about, originally I was going to do kind of an earthy, like dark red or something. I was feeling moody, I think, when I originally kitted it, but I went, nah, I want fun colors. So that's what I'm doing. And all right, the next one. This was also a mystery knit along. However, I was like, I'm gonna do this because it doesn't use a ton of the same color yarn. I can use up a whole bunch of yarns. There's 7 contrasting colors, yada, 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 all the lies we tell ourselves. And then I was looking at bases because I needed a different base. And then I looked at Miss Babs and she had a beautiful set for the Just Beachy shawl. And it is the Popsicle Fun colorway set. There's 2 skeins of the Yummy 2-ply for the main color. And then there's 7 like mini skeins of the 2-ply toes. They're both 100% superwash merino wool and it's all fingering weight. So I won't be able to hold all of them up, but I'm going to try. They've also been wound and kind of bounced around, so hopefully they're not all in a mess in here. I don't know the individual colorways because it's not written down on the thing. I just know it's the Popsicle Fun set. If I can find the colorways, I'll tell you when I actually start it. But this is my base, which showing up really kind of like yellowy brown there. It's more, that's a little better. It's less yellowy than it's showing up there and more caramely, light caramel. Then I have, oh, it is a hot mess in here. Hold on. So I have 2 balls of the main color. And then I'm trying to get out all the other colors. Hold on. I don't have enough hands to hold all 7 of these. And they're kind of a mess. But I don't know, oh, I've even got needles in here already. These are my contrasting colors. I'm sorry, that's a mess. Apparently all the balls started to unravel. I didn't do a very good job of tucking those ends in, I guess. So I'm gonna have to sort that out. Nothing like knots before you even start the project. It's gonna be really fun though. I remember watching, I think there were videos on YouTube maybe when they did this. Hopefully they're still there because I think I'll need them. But they have some, they really committed to the theme, which I think was fun. And several of the sections had, like I think one was called a starfish stitch. And they had like beach themed. One looked like a seashell. I don't know if I kept watching after that because I knew I wasn't going to get to it. Sorry for the shake. I just bumped the camera a little. Okay, so this is my last Whip Go planned new start. This is Travel Mode 2.0. It's by Suzanne Summers. Let me get all my colors out here. I don't think that I will change any colors on this, but I could. Just know that about 3/4 of what I've kitted, I'm confident I will start with what I've kitted. Sometimes I just end up where like all of a sudden everything I'm knitting is blue or everything I'm knitting is brown or everything I'm knitting is pink. And I'm just like, I can't start another pink project. So I dive into the stash and pull something else out. So this could change because there's a lot of colors in it, but I don't think so. Pardon my slurp. So my base or main color, I'm actually going to use this beautiful yellow. This is Wild Iris Non-Replaceable, which unfortunately means they dyed it either with like extra dye or it was a test, so I can't reorder it, but I was smart enough to buy 2. It's the colorway Goldilocks in their Yummy 2-ply. Now, I bought this years ago, so this could even be like a standard color now, but it's this beautiful, rich, warm, lightly variegated tonal, I guess it's more tonal than variegated, warm, rich, like golden yellow. So I'm doing that. And then there's 4 additional colors. This is really a shawl, as I'm sure you could see in the picture, that I could use as many colors as I want, but I'm trying to keep it symmetrical. So I have a plan. And I'm going to use these 4 contrasting colors. The first is that Arusiana yarn that I am absolutely incorrectly pronouncing. Get my face out of there so it'll focus. Come. You can do it. Focus in, babe. Anyway, I'm using the Hosco sock base again in the color Toko Toucan, which is this gray denim, dark gray, light gray with little speckles of yellow throughout it. You can kind of see them there. So I have that. Then I have Cascade Yarns Serrata, which is baby llama and silk in, I guess Serrata is the colorway. Is that the colorway? No, the colorway is, I don't know if Serrata is, I think the Serrata is the line. I think the colorway is 75513. Oh no, color number 13. Well, that doesn't really help us either. But it's this really pretty periwinkle blue. It's a solid. The next is by Olive Park Yarns. Another fingering. These are all fingering weight, if I didn't say that. Pebble Beach. Nope, Beach Pebble. Reading it backwards. So this is Beach Pebble. This is a light gray with little bits of blue speckle in it. So I thought, okay, you've got the yellow, you've got the grays with yellow speckle, you got the blue, you got the grays with blue speckle. And then this is Brine Dye Works. This was a prototype. So again, this was one I can't get another one of. It was just their February prototype. It's their merino sock base. And it has no colorway because it was a prototype. But it's really pretty. It has some, I don't know if you can tell, but it has some like turquoisey blues. Then it has some really dark denim blues, some grays, medium to dark gray. So this is what I'm thinking I will do. I'm going to put this down here. So this will be really my like bold background, but then all the triangles will be in symmetrical of these. The one I'm really the least certain about is this one, because these are all tonal and or speckled, and this one's not. So this is the one, I'll just have to see how it looks when I start, but this is the one that's most likely to get potentially replaced. So let me put these back, make sure we don't, whoop, oh, they're flying everywhere. Yarn's flying. Oh, where'd you go, babe? Here you are. Oh, everything's falling. Nothing to see here. Okay, so that is the last of my planned new starts on my whip go board. I do have a planned start for, I'm going to call it my Valentine's Day start because that's roughly when I plan to start it. I am starting a new job mid-February. If that job starts prior to Valentine's Day, there's a good chance this will not get started at all, or it may not get started on Valentine's Day. It could get started earlier. If I have not yet started the position, there's a good chance it will get started on Valentine's Day. All that to say, this is the South Falls Cowl by Kay Hopkins. I'm going to show you the cover picture. I will try to put in the other picture, but she did it in like a light gray, so that's pretty accurate, even though it's printed in black and white, to what it looks like. But solid light gray is not my thing. So I am doing it in, what's this one? Oh, they covered it. Something in Posy. Fig and Posy Simple Sock in Hot Kitty. Whoa, not gray. This is like the most fabulous neon pink, and it's really hard to see, but there's a little bit of variegation to it and light play where it almost has a little bit of purple undertone in some spots. And I am then using La Bien Ami Pinku Graffiti, which is their mohair. So look at these. I mean, oh, yum. So my plan, I'm going to attempt to hold all of this up together and point. My plan is, so a lot of the cowl is garter stitch, but then there's a few sections, I think actually only two, where there's a little bit of lace work. My plan is to hold this double for all the garter sections, but then when I get to the lace work, I will only use the fingering so I get the detail of the lace and none of the fuzz of the mohair. And then there's like a little bit, and then when I get into the garter stitch, I think it'll add really fun texture to this cowl. So I hope I love it as much as I think I will. So those are my planned knitting new starts for February for Valentine's Day in this super cute bag. I'm sorry, I don't know where a lot of these bags came from. I have a good number that were cross-stitch project bags that I repurposed. I have a good number that I bought randomly around. I have several that were cross-stitch project bags I made that I then boxed the edges on with my serger and turned into knitting project bags, but they're not that great because they weren't that great to begin with. So I have a lot of unknowns. If I can figure out the project bags, I will of course give credit and let you know where I got them from, but a lot of them sadly don't have tags on them. I'll let you know when I can. As far as other knitting, like I said, I'm trying to knit on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So far that plan has already kind of gone out the window because I got obsessed with finishing a specific cross stitch piece, which you'll see in my next update if you watch it. And sort of all of my plans kind of went by the wayside, so I could just bear down and finish on this one piece. However, there will probably be several other new starts for knitting, but they're going to be gifts. So it's sort of secret knitting. I don't want to show it on this channel because the individuals I'm planning to potentially gift these to will be watching this channel. So, or probably are watching, I shouldn't be so presumptuous, but are probably watching this channel. So what I'll do is if I start these, once they've been finished and gifted, I can share pictures and let you know when I worked on them. But if I do work on them throughout the month on my normal updates, I might just have to say this is gift knitting or mystery knitting that I can't share. So that's it for knitting. If you're interested in cross stitch, I did post a cross stitch whip parade and plans because my original whip parade for cross stitch, you could not see anything. I did not understand the camera quite as well, or at least the way it was recording. I will also be posting, hopefully in the next couple days, a quilting whip parade. I did not do that, so I will have a plans and whip parade for that. But my knitting whip parade is posted already from a few months back. Feel free to check that out. If you enjoyed this, I'd love it if you subscribed or liked, just because it tells me that people are enjoying this. I love sharing and feeling that sense of community with you all, but if nobody's enjoying the content, I'd like to know that as well. But I'm really enjoying this and I hope you did too. But otherwise, have a wonderful, wonderful time knitting, and I will hopefully see you soon. Bye.